You've watched the screen light up 1,000 times, hoping a specific name would appear, and every single time it didn't, a small, quiet part of you adjusted its posture. You changed the way you typed. You timed your responses. You calculated how long to wait before clicking send, trying to strike that impossible balance between I'm here and I'm busy. You've spent months, maybe years, acting as the invisible architect of a relationship, constantly checking the emotional weather, adjusting your own temperature to make sure they stayed warm. But you already know the truth. It's exhausting. It's a performance played to an audience of one, and the applause hasn't come. You're listening to this right now because you're tired of holding up a bridge that the other person isn't even walking across. You've been treating them like a destination, while they've been treating you like a scenic route. And yet, there is a strange, unsettling law of human nature that you've likely sensed but never quite wanted to admit to yourself. It's a mechanism hidden deep within our psychology, something the ancient thinkers understood without the need for modern labs. It turns out, the moment she begins to treat you as an absolute priority isn't the moment you try harder. It's the exact moment you stop doing one specific thing. At first, it seems completely counterintuitive. We are taught from childhood that if you want something, you must pursue it. If a fire is dying, you add wood. If a connection is fading, you lean in. So, you leaned in. You anticipated her needs. You became the one who checked in first, the one who remembered the small details, the one who kept the conversation alive when it wanted to sleep. You became entirely predictable. And that is where the trap closed. There's a concept in behavioral science known as variable reward. When an outcome is guaranteed, the human brain drops its attention span to zero. It categorizes the resource as secure. You don't look at the thermostat when the room is perfectly comfortable, you only look at it when it goes cold. By becoming the constant, unwavering background noise of her life, you inadvertently became invisible. You weren't a choice anymore. You were a given. But the real problem isn't what she was doing. The real problem is what was happening inside your own mind. Every time you adjusted your schedule, every time you swallowed a boundary to keep the peace, you were sending a quiet, devastating message to your own nervous system: her comfort matters more than my reality. You thought you were showing devotion. But she didn't see devotion. She saw someone who was managing her perception of him. And here is where the first crack in the illusion appears. You believed that if you just held on tightly enough, you could control how she felt about you. But control is the ultimate addiction of the insecure mind. Think about the last time you decided to pull back. Not out of anger. Not as a game. Just a moment where the fatigue caught up to you, and you simply didn't send the text. You didn't double-check. You let the silence sit in the room like an uninvited guest. Remember that sudden, sharp spike of anxiety? That wasn't love. That was the panic of a gambler realizing they've bet their entire identity on a spin of the wheel. The Stoics had a beautiful, brutal term for this state of mind. They called it being a slave to impressions. When you allow your internal state to be dictated entirely by whether a phone screen lights up or a tone of voice shifts by a fraction of an octave, you have handed over the keys to your own house. The thing you have to stop doing, the single, massive psychological weight you must drop right now, is auditioning. You have to stop auditioning for a role in a life where you should already be a main character, or not there at all. When you stop auditioning, something remarkable happens to the space between two people. The air changes. When you stop rushing to fill the silence, the other person suddenly has to inhabit it. For the first time, they notice the absence of the weight you were carrying for them. They look around the room and realize the person who was always waiting by the door has finally sat down, turned away, and started reading their own book. But that's when the truly dangerous part begins. When you pull back your energy, she will notice. It's an evolutionary certainty. Humans are hardwired to detect a change in baseline behavior. She might reach out. She might suddenly become warm, inquisitive, or attentive. The texts might arrive faster. The tone might shift back to the way it was in the beginning. And your first instinct will be to run back. To open your arms and say, "See? It worked." If you do that, you lose everything. Because if you treat her sudden attention as a reward for a tactical game you played, you haven't actually changed your identity. You've just learned a better manipulation strategy. You're still an addict, you've just gotten better at hiding the shakes. The shift cannot be a trick. It cannot be a calculated silence designed to make her miss you. If you use silence as a weapon, the other person will eventually learn how to arm themselves against it. The silence must be real. It must be the silence of a man who has looked at his own reflection and realized that his time, his attention, and his emotional sanity are finite resources that are currently being misallocated. It's the realization that you have been treating another human being as a higher authority on your value than you are. When you stop doing that, when you truly drop the need for her to validate your existence, your posture changes. Your voice drops an octave. You stop rushing your sentences. You stop looking for reassurance in the margins of her answers. You become grounded in your own skin. And that version of you, that version is compelling. Not because it's distant, but because it's autonomous. There is a profound difference between a man who is unavailable because he is playing a game, and a man who is unavailable because he is genuinely occupied with the weight of his own life. One is an act. The other is a fact. The human mind can sense the difference instantly. When you stop managing her emotions and start managing your own purpose, the dynamic flips entirely. She no longer feels the suffocating pressure of your expectations, nor does she feel the easy comfort of your absolute availability. She is forced to confront a question she hasn't had to ask in a very long time. Where do I actually stand with him? For the first time, she has to earn your attention rather than simply harvest it. But as you sit with this realization, a deeper, colder truth might begin to surface. You might realize that the reason you spent so long over-investing, the reason you couldn't stop auditioning, wasn't actually about her at all. It was about the fear of what you would have to look at if you turned around and faced the rest of your life. It's much easier to obsess over why someone isn't prioritizing you than it is to ask yourself why you aren't prioritizing your own potential. It's a brilliant, tragic distraction. The next time you feel that familiar, anxious urge to reach out, to smooth things over, to perform, or to check in just to make sure the connection is still alive, I want you to pause. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a completely still lake at twilight. Every time you force an interaction, it's like throwing a heavy stone into that water, shattering the reflection, creating chaos just to prove you can affect it? What happens if you just leave the stone on the shore? What happens if you let the water become perfectly, terrifyingly still? You will finally see what is actually reflecting in it. You will see yourself, unadorned by the panic of the chase. If she truly values you, she will see that stillness too, and she will walk down to the water's edge to meet you there. And if she doesn't, then you will finally see the shore for what it is. An empty place you were trying to turn into a home. The performance is over. The house lights have come up. When you finally leave the stage and walk out into the quiet night air, you realize the most important truth of all. You never needed her to make you a priority. You just needed to stop treating yourself like an option. When you look back at the version of you that was waiting for that screen to light up, do you even recognize him anymore?